Hey everyone, today I'm going to do a video talking about the differences between a Cold Steel Pro Bounce Sport and the original Pro Bounce. You probably can't tell the difference between this angle right here, but if I turn it over, you can see that the original Pro Bounce is much thicker and much heavier than this newer Sport. So I'm going to talk about the differences and what that means to an instinctive knife thrower like myself. I pretty much learned to throw no spin with this knife right here. It's not the best knife for learning no spin because it is blade heavy, and it's been in probably dozens of my videos. I absolutely love this knife. I've been throwing it, probably the first real throwing knife I acquired and started training with. So going into this sort of comparison, I'm going to be extremely biased toward the original. Not necessarily just because of the design, but because I have a lot of experience behind it, and I'm a lot more familiar with it than the newer Sport model. The pros to this knife are, one of the things is weight. It doesn't have as much weight as the newer one. The weight allows you to be a little more accurate, in my opinion. It creates a more consistent throwing technique, and you have a better feel and grasp for when this knife is going to leave your hand. So when you can fine-tune that release, that's when you can really start to dial in those accurate throws. And this original Pro Bounce is probably my favorite knife for one-spin throwing. The Pro Bounce, and maybe the Perfect Bounce from Cold Steel, it's basically like this but a buoy shape. Probably my favorite one-spin thrower. No spin, it requires kind of a profound swinging effect throw to it. I'll put a link to this in the description, but this is my first no-spin tutorial I taught. I was using this knife, and I was using a swinging motion. There wasn't a whole lot of thorn wrist action. There wasn't any Russian or Japanese-inspired throwing techniques. It was just almost like a catapult. And that's how I learned no spin with this knife right here. It probably would have been easier to throw no spin with this knife right here. I've been playing around, and I can get better no spin throws with this newer model than the heavy one. The reason why is because it's lighter, and a knife like this is a little bit easier to manipulate in regards to fine-tuning release and stuff like that. I've also had more success throwing backhand, sidearm, and underhand because the knife feels like it throws faster. It's lighter, but it has just enough weight to feel or to develop a feel for it, like you know what this knife's going to do when it comes out of your hand. And luckily, it's similar enough to the older Pro Bounce that somebody that's thrown the original can adapt to this very quickly and be able to draw, the positive elements of this lighter weight out of the knife. So as far as picking one over the other, it's kind of hard to do. In general, if you're going to be an instinctive thrower and you like to throw no spin, I would honestly probably go with a lighter model. If you're more a traditional thrower and are just focused on rotational throwing, I would probably stick with the original just because it does have that extra heft and an added element of accuracy. But the pro also, to a smaller, lighter knife like this, is some people may feel uncomfortable throwing a heavy knife like the original Pro Bounce. So maybe if you have a younger child or a smaller framed thrower, they could probably get more out of this Sport than they would the original Pro Bounce. I love both the knives. They both have different functions. And you've seen me throw this one a lot already, so I'm going to take some time to show you off the Pro Bounce Sport. Just do some instinctive practice, nothing crazy, just so you get a feel of how easy it is to manipulate this knife. Alright, here we go. Alright, here I am about 30 feet back with a Cold Steel Pro Bounce Sport. I'm going to make it stick one spin. Alright, that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching. People will tell you that you can't really throw rotational styles from multiple distances, and that simply isn't the case. It takes a lot more practice, but you can learn how to do it. Pro Bounce Sport is definitely a good choice for that. I mean, you saw me throw one spin from 12 feet all the way back to 30. If the hard part is filling in those distance in between and learning to apply those different techniques you need to do to get the right spin at that distance. But it's doable, and you can actually get to the point where you don't have to put as much thought into it. It's not going to be as consistent as your set distances and that method of throwing the same way every time. But it is fun, and it's a worthwhile hobby to learn. Okay, well that's about all I have. Loving the Cold Steel Pro Bounce Sport. It's hard to measure up to the predecessor, which I'm so familiar with. I can't really pick between one or the other. But let me know in the comments which one you think is better. Just from either my demo or your personal experience. And have a nice day. This is a one spin throw, underhand. Later.